الرحمن الرحيم. This is a course of English language. It aims at providing the students with the basic skills of listening, reading, writing, and speaking. Particularly, we are going to focus on reading and writing and the grammatical points. Now, in this class, we are going to give an introduction for the grammatical points, particularly for the kinds of verbs. Number one, verbs divide into three kinds. Number one is called auxiliary verbs. Number two is modal auxiliary verbs. Number three, full verbs. Now let's begin with the first kind, which is auxiliary verbs. These include verbs to be, or verb to do, and verb to have. When we talk about verb to be, now these verbs are mainly is, are, am, and in the past we have was and were. We use these verbs mainly to show tenses in number one, and in number two, they can be used for making questions and negative. Now, when we talk about verb to be, am and is and are, we can find them in, for example, I am doing my work. You can find they are listening to me. And as in number three, she is preparing the supper. Now, in these cases now, we find that verb to be, am, and is, and are can be used in order now to show the tenses. Now, this is now present progressive or present continuous, with the second and the third are like, you see now, and they can be used also at the same time to show the negative. For example, I am doing my work. I am not playing football. They are listening to me. They are not watching television. She is preparing the supper. She is not preparing the breakfast. So we can use them to make the negative. In these cases now, we can use them to show the tenses in this case. Now, also, they can be used to show the question form. So we say, I am doing my work. What are you doing? What are you doing? They are listening to me. What are they doing? So in this case now, we can use now verb to be in order to form a question forms. Now, in the other example, we said, she is not preparing the supper. She is not preparing a breakfast. We use now these verbs to show the negative. Now, we use now these verbs in order to show how to make a question. And at the same time now, they can be used for the tenses. Now, when we say, I am doing, they are listening, she is preparing now, these are present continuous tenses. Now, this is about verb to be. Now, when the second part or type of the first class verb to auxiliary verbs is verb to do. Now, when we talk about verb to do, now we talk about do as an auxiliary. Now, and in this case, in the same function now, they function to show the tense, or they function to make questions, or they function to make the negative forms. Now, we say, for example, she plays tennis. We use now plays, now the main verb is plays. And in this case, this is the present form. Now, if we want to show the negative now, we say she does not play golf. So we make use of verb to do in order to make the negative. Now, in the sentence she plays tennis, there is no auxiliary verb. But when we make it negative, we need to extract from it an auxiliary verb, and we can use only verb to do. So we use do, and then we add the negative to it, so it becomes she does not play golf. Now, if we want to make a question now, because now verb to be and do can be used also to make questions. Now, we say now we want to ask about tennis. So we say, what does she play? Now, the answer is she plays, and the answer for what is tennis. She plays tennis. So if you want to make a question for a sentence which does not have an auxiliary verb, we make use of verb to do. So we bring do for the present, we bring does for the third singular person sentence, and we bring also does now if you want to make a do, if you want to use now a verb without s. They play tennis. What do they play? What do they play? So in this case we use does, and we can use do. In the past we used it. In the sentence they played tennis, we make a question, what did they play? Therefore now we use did in the past. We use do in the sentences without s, which is not which are not third person singular, and we use does with the third person singular. Therefore, we can make a question, we can make a negative, and at the same time, we can use it in a question. Now, the third part from the auxiliary verb is what we say verb to have. And in have, we have, and we have has, and we have had. No. When we talk about have and has and had, has are considered like verb to be. They can be used in order to show tenses. So they represent what is called the present perfect tense, and this is for the past perfect tense. Well, they can be used to make negative. They can also be used in question making. Let's begin with number one, with the tense, to show the tenses. Now, when we talk about I have used a pen in my writing. Now, have used now represents the present perfect tense. And when we say perfect, now this is to show that the action we are talking about is finished, is perfect before now, and before the moment now. And in this case now, the verb have is used to show the tense, perfect tense, present perfect, and she has used a pen in her writing. Now it's also used now to show the present perfect. Had can be used in the past perfect. She had a pen yesterday. she had used a pen in her writing yesterday. So therefore now, verb to be, verb to have, verb to have, which are called auxiliary verbs, can be used in order to make the negative, or can be used in order to make questions, or at the same time, they show the tenses. They show the tenses. Now, we have to put in mind that verb to be and verb to have can function as auxiliary verbs, can function at the same time as full verbs. Now, we mean by full verb a verb which carries meaning, like play, like write, like speak, like eat. Now, and we can use them now either as full verbs or auxiliary verbs. In all the examples we have talked about, we use them as auxiliaries. And in order to be used as helping verbs, they help the verb either in tenses or they help the verb in showing the negative cases or in making a question. But if we use them as main verbs, then but they can be used. If we use them as main verbs, the things are different. I say, I was ill. I was ill. No. I am fine. Now, when we come to verb to have, we say, I have a good house. I am having a bath. Now, in this case now, we talk about have as a main verb. Yani a verb that carries meaning. I am having a bath means I am bathing. I am taking a bath. I have a good house means I am possessing. I own. Yeah, it has the meaning of possession. That I own, I possess a house. In this case now, they can be used as full verbs with their meaning, not as auxiliary verbs. Therefore, you can use them in the continuous, you can use them in the present simple tense, you can use them in the past simple tense. There is no problem. Now, when we talk about do, now this do can also be used as a helping verb, as an auxiliary verb, as in the example, they do not answer difficult questions. Now, in this case, now do is used as an auxiliary or as a helping verb to help the verb answer show the negative and the present simple tense, or it can be used now as I do my homework. In this case, do is used as well as a main verb. I do my homework. I do my homework all the time. All the time. Therefore now, we can use these verbs, be and do and have, as main verbs. We can use them as auxiliary verbs. In both cases, things are different. Now, the second category now is about modal auxiliary verbs. Modal auxiliary verbs include a class like the verb can, would, should, will, have, have to, has to, must, could, need, etc. They are called modal auxiliary verbs. Now they are called auxiliary verbs because they function exactly like verb to be, verb to do, and verb to have. So they work in the same way. For example, I say I play golf. You can say I can play golf. I answer the questions. I would respond to your answers. I could play music. I couldn't play music. Now in these forms now, we can use these auxiliary modal auxiliaries exactly in the same way and in the same fashion that we use verb to be, verb to do, and verb to have. So they can be used in order to show the tenses. They can be used also to make questions. They can be used also in order to make negatives. So can becomes can't, would, wouldn't, should, shouldn't, will, won't, and etc. Now, well, this class of verbs differs from auxiliary verbs, and modal auxiliary verbs differ from auxiliary verbs in one thing, which is that these have their own meaning. So if we ask, for example, what is the meaning of the verb be? What is the meaning of the verb be? Be has no meaning. If we ask what is the meaning of the verb to have, for example, when it is used as an auxiliary, it doesn't have a meaning. But if we say what is the meaning of the verb can, we say can express ability. So I can do the shopping means I have the ability to do the shopping. I must see you every morning means that I have the obligation to see you every morning. So therefore now, must expresses obligation or necessity. Now, can expresses ability, or in other times a probability. May and might show a probability and possibility. Therefore now, they have these special meanings. Now, if we go back to verb to have or do and be as auxiliary verbs, they do not have a meaning. They do not have a meaning. So, I do ascertain to you means I ascertain to you. So what is the meaning do? It doesn't have a meaning. But it has a function. One of the functions we talked about, particularly when we talked about making questions or making negative and to show the tenses. Now, in the modal verbs, they have these functions in addition to their special and particular and unique meaning now of ability, probability, capability, necessity, obligation, prohibition, and so on. Now, the same thing can be said about these. Now, we can talk about can to show negative. So I say, I can't tell you what I know. So we use it in the negative. We can use it in a question. We say, can I compare thee to a summer's day? Now, we use it in order to make a question. Like in all cases now it has a meaning which is different from auxiliary verbs regarding their special meaning of ability, probability, necessity, prohibition, and so on. Now, the third group now or a class of verbs is full verbs.